Financial Planner. Follow us on YouTube.
Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. For those people who were able to see the eclipse, hopefully you enjoyed that today. For those people who live in different areas that really couldn't see anything, well, maybe you've taken the day off, maybe you had a party, maybe you decided not to go to school if you were going to school. And the corporate media always likes to jump on this and tell us how these type of an events, or something like weather related or a solar eclipse or anything else, how this affects the economy. Now, many people think like, well, what do you mean by this? Why would an eclipse affect the economy? Well, what they're saying is that there are so many people that are partying, skipping school, skipping work, skipping everything just to look at the eclipse. The economy is going to lose a lot of money. And they're saying that this is going to hurt retail. It's going to hurt productivity. And what they're calculating right now is that the minutes that are going to be lost because of the solar eclipse, they're going to add up to around 700 million in productivity. Now, this is according to Challenger Gray and Christmas. In total, the company estimates that the U.S. economy will lose around 694 million during the approximately 20-minute eclipse process. And that number could be conservative. Now, they're already out there telling us that we're going to be losing money because of this eclipse. And we've seen this before during certain storms, especially during the winter time where the weather is pretty bad and people can't go out and shop. Now, of course, they tell us that everything is moving to online, but people can go online and shop, so why would this hurt the economy at all? It makes no sense. And like I said, online is really only 8% of the total retail sales. And again, when these weather-related events occur, it's not throughout the whole country. It's isolated, maybe in the Northeast, maybe out west. And this eclipse, not many people could see this. I mean, if you're in certain states, you really didn't see that much. So they're trying to bring this out to say that this is going to hurt the economy. We're going to be losing $700 million in productivity. Retail might not do as well because people, they're not out there shopping, they're out there partying, they're skipping work, and all these other type of things. And what's very interesting about this is they're pushing the agenda to continually tell us why the economy is doing bad. Now, they're skirting around the entire issue instead of just saying, listen, the economy is doing poorly because people aren't working. There's something like 90-something million people that are looking for jobs, and there's millions of others who just have part-time jobs who would like full-time jobs, but they don't want to say any of that. Retail's doing poorly because people don't have the extra funds. The economy was created on an illusion. I mean, think about all the calculations, all the statistics that are out there that were manipulated to make us believe that the economy was doing a lot better than it really is. Now, right now, we've just concluded round one of the NAFTA negotiations. Now, these negotiations are being kept secret, just like the TPP. They're not as transparent as everyone thought. But what's very interesting about this is the United States actually has the upper hand compared to Canada and Mexico. Canada and Mexico, they are really negotiating on a political level, where the U.S. is not. And we can see that the U.S. can say, hey, listen, we don't have a deal here. It's just too bad on you. But you need to remember something very important. This entire NAFTA plan, this was put out there not to benefit the American people, not to bring jobs into America. This was to benefit Mexico, Canada, and those who are going to make a profit from this. And now the next meetings are going to occur September 1st to the September 5th. This will be in Mexico City, and then it's going to move to Canada in October. And we can see right now that they're going to be going back and forth. Now, what comes out of this, we don't know. I know there's a lot of corporations that are involved in this. They are privy to the information that is being discussed. The American people are pretty much being kept out of it. And I think it should be the other way around. The American people should be kept in the loop. We should be seeing what is happening here. And do we agree with this? But again, they don't want us to see anything. They're just going to tell us how great it is once it's all said and done. Actually, we probably should just get rid of it. But again, there are other forces within government that are controlling the situation. Trump does not have full control of what is going on right now in government. He's pushing back, but right now he does not have the full control. Out in Hong Kong, we see people are very worried out there. They are withdrawing a lot of money out of the ATMs. And the reason why is because these ATM machines, they are being installed with facial recognition cameras. So they are looking at each individual that walks up to an ATM. Their faces are going into a database. They're being stored. And we can see already that there's a crackdown, and this is what they're saying. There's a crackdown on unauthorized mainland currency outflows by forcing ATM users to undertake facial recognition before cash is dispensed in Macau. And these Hong Kong ATMs are reportedly being hit by a massive surge in withdrawals from China's UnionPay bank cards. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see facial recognition on ATMs here in the United States and throughout Europe, because if you think back, the central bankers, the government, the deep state, the elite, the cabal, they keep telling us how they need to crack down because they need to find those terrorists, they need to find the money launderers, they need to find all these individuals, and this is why they want to get rid of cash. And I wouldn't be surprised to keep track of everyone, to keep track of everything. I wouldn't be surprised if they install this throughout Europe and the United States. This might be a test case where they're testing it out there and then they're going to start doing it everywhere else. Now, what's very interesting, and we reported on this a couple reports ago, where certain government officials, they were creating a bill to go after cryptocurrency. And of course, they were using terrorism, money laundering, drug trafficking, and everything else so they could actually gain control of the cryptocurrency market and tax those individuals where they were making a profit on it. Now, several members of the U.S. Congress are drafting legislation that is intended to recognize certain digital currencies and protect them against interference from the federal government. So let's get this straight for discussion's sake. There are certain people in Congress who want to create a bill to protect the cryptocurrency from government. So those in government are trying to protect cryptocurrency from those same government people. So this brings us back to, well, are there good individuals who want to see cryptocurrency grow? And are there those who are controlled by the central banks where they say, you know something, we don't like cryptocurrencies? The Cointelegraph reports that the bill, which will provide protection to cryptocurrencies that comply with certain minimum requirements to prevent them from being used by those engaged in illegal business practices like drug trafficking and terrorists, is expected to be filed in September of 2017. At least one Republican senator and two Republican congressmen are working on the draft legislation. The centerpiece of the plan is to mainstream digital currency so it can be treated just like the American dollar. First, there is a new entity that is considering issuing a brand new digital currency that is compliant with anti-money laundering laws unlike any other in circulation. Although cash has some of the same type of problems being used to pay for illegal activities, the perception that digital currencies are being used for illegal activities is seen as the primary roadblock to wholesale acceptance by the American public. Now, think about it. The corporate media has been out there, and of course, with ransomware, they're saying, oh, they're using Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies being used by criminals. And I think this was done on purpose to make people believe that cryptocurrencies were bad, and they played this up in the corporate media. And every so often they tell you that, cryptocurrency is not going to last that long. It's dead. It's in a bubble. It's not going anywhere. The thing is, it's always the opposite of what the corporate media is saying. It's always the opposite of what government officials are saying. Basically, cryptocurrency is a truth machine. And basically, it goes back all the way in time. adds everything up to make sure that the calculations are always correct. And this is distributed over many different computer systems around the world. Not one entity controls it all. So if you hit one area with a cyber attack and you try to change the ledger, well, there's different encrypted hashes that it has to check with. And guess what? If their checks don't go through, there is a problem, and all the other machines say, all the other systems say, hey, what is going on here? And it's flagged. And we can see right now they don't like this because, first of all, they're not in control of it. Second of all, it's a truth machine because it's not just presenting a balance, it's always recalculating and making sure that the ledger is always correct. So nobody can go in, like in the middle of the ledger, change some numbers and say, hey, look, it's all different now. It's quite impossible to do that. So we can see at this point they're trying to bring cryptocurrencies into what the dollar is right now, where they can control it. I don't think this bill is actually to protect cryptocurrency. I think what they're trying to do is maneuver a way where they can bring it and say, yes, it's just like the dollar, we'll treat it just like the dollar, and all the laws that are applied to the dollar will now go to cryptocurrency. And I think this is exactly what they're trying to do. Now, what's really ironic about this, and we mentioned this just a little while ago, is that the government lawmakers are attempting to codify rules to stop government lawmakers interfering with the free and open exchange of a decentralized currency by setting rules that potentially interfere with free exchange of said currency. So if it's an open and free decentralized currency, why do we need government involved? We don't. We don't need government involved if we already have a decentralized open system. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it. But what they want to do is they want to control it because they can see what is happening. We're in the middle of a transition right now. And it's in the very, very beginning stages where we're going from the dollar, these paper currencies, these centralized currencies, to a decentralized currency. Now, there are some individuals like London Paul, which I had him on. I interviewed him on the Spotlight channel, where he said that Russia and China are working on a cryptocurrency that's going to be backed by precious metals. And this is what they're working towards. Now, will this be centralized, decentralized? Don't know as of yet. But we can see right now there are certain countries out there looking to have some type of truth machine. Now, the main central banks, the IMF, the BIS, the Fed, they don't want this. They like full control because they don't like the truth. They don't want a truth machine. They don't want something where people can go check and it's out in the open, where people can say, hey, what happened here? They like to keep everything as a secret. Think about it. The Federal Reserve and the rest of the central banks, you don't know what's going on in the central bank. Their books are not open. They're not transparent. They won't let anyone audit them. We have no idea what's really going on. I mean, we have some idea, but we don't know the nitty-gritty of what they're really doing because it won't be allowed. With a decentralized system, it's all out in the open. Everyone can see what's going on. And this is something they don't like because they don't have any control over it. Right now, we're in the process of moving towards a decentralized, hopefully a decentralized blockchain type of system. Not just for currency, but on the stock exchange, maybe even for precious metals, and moving forward for real estate and so on. And what that means is there'd be no need for the central bank. There'd be no need for banks, actually. You wouldn't need to keep your currency in the bank because it's all digital. You can keep it in a paper wallet. And guess what? Your currency, it can't just disappear because the truth machine will always tell you what you have and you can keep it locally. Even if you lose your information, let's say on your computer, as long as you keep your private key, just like your account number for your bank, someplace safe, you can always recreate the entire ledger. You can go back onto the system, everything will be added up, and it'll present you with how much you have. So you can see that there's no government controlling it. We don't need a government controlling it, and this is what they're afraid of, because as we move forward and the dollar dies and currencies start to die, all this central bank currency, we're moving towards a brand new system. We're in the beginning stages of it right now, and as we move forward, just like the internet, we're going to see more people adopt it, more people will understand it, more people will say this is a lot easier to use, a lot of people say I have a lot more control over it, and it's really not that far of a jump here, because it's all electronic digital, and if you have it right on your cell phone, if you're using some type of plastic credit card, well, all the cryptocurrency can be basically created to be used on any of these devices. So you don't have to relearn anything. Everything can be exactly the same. And all we need is businesses to start to accept it. And once they do, guess what? We're off and running. And there are a lot of businesses right now that are accepting it already. And there's going to be a lot more. So we are already in the transition from one system, from the old system to the new system. And for those people who don't understand cryptocurrency, and I'm not saying precious metals are bad, this will definitely retain your wealth, because we're going to be going through this period of time where the dollar is going to die. Don't know if the cryptocurrency will be online as of yet, and you'll need something to store your wealth, because as the value of the dollar decreases, what are you going to have here? Yes, you should have some of your funds in cryptocurrency, and I would also have it in silver. This is what, or gold. I say more silver than gold. This is what I have. I put a lot of my funds into silver. I do own Bitcoin. I own Litecoin. I own Dash. I own Ethereum. I think that's all I own right now. And I'm looking at many others, and I diversify into all of these, just like I diversify out of the dollar into silver. I have a little bit of gold, not that much. I have a lot more silver than gold. And I do this to basically protect my wealth. And again, we don't know how this is going to end up. We don't know where it's going to go. So you need to cover all bases. The one thing I do know is I don't want to be in the dollar when this thing completely falls apart, because as we know, the dollar has been devaluing. A lot of countries are stepping away from the dollar, and you want to be kind of outside of the dollar, this is my personal opinion, when this whole thing falls apart. And yes, you still need food, water, supplies, because as the dollar decreases in value, we see inflation, credit freezes up. Guess what? You won't be able to get supplies, and you'll need this stuff to survive. I mean, everything is still the same. I'm just talking about when we get to the other side, where we'll have cryptocurrencies. Maybe it won't happen until 2 or 3 years later. We don't know. We don't know how long this transition is going to be. Some people say 2 years, some people say 6 months, some people say 4 years. But right now, everyone needs to be ready and prepared, because we're going to go through many different stages of the transition. It's not going to be like, oh, here's the transition, everything crashed, and here we're restarting everything. No, we're going to go through many different stages. The bond market collapsing, the stock market collapsing, the value of the dollar decreasing. People might be bartering at this time. People might be struggling to get supplies during this time. We might go through this for maybe 3-4 months, and then all of a sudden people say, hey, okay, we're getting a couple of supplies back in. The dollar's worth nothing. People are using maybe silver to go purchase it, or maybe people are saying, you know something, I'm using my Bitcoin, or they're still bartering. We don't know how this is going to turn out, but in the beginning, people will use dollars, and then eventually what will happen, people will take other types of payment. There'll be all different types of payments, but I believe we're going to go through many, many different stages until we reach the end, and this is why you need to be ready and prepared.